Hello. Good morning. It's another Thursday. Here we are. My name is Lee Cara, and this is Unleash Your Life. All right. I hope that you guys are having a fabulous week. Everything here is going pretty smoothly. I have a ton of stuff on my plate. Do you ever feel like you're just doing this much and then all of a sudden you look around and you're like, oh my God, I have way overscheduled. And you're a little shocked, right? Yeah, that's kind of me at the moment. But I'm keeping it all, I'm keeping it all in perspective, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't overbook myself, overextend myself. That's going to cause that pain that we're talking about, right? That's going to cause that pain that we're talking about in a new way. All right, so this week I have a topic here for you guys that I don't normally talk about. So it should be very interesting to see what comes through, to see what they want to share. I'll put my little crystals inside, close to my heart. Hi, Shireen in South Africa. Welcome. So today we're going to talk about pain. And I don't talk about pain very often on my shows, at least not physical pain. And this is because I am in physical pain. I have a neurological condition. I put it in quotes because, of course, we know that the mind can heal, although that is also a double-edged sword, and we'll definitely get into that as we chat about this. So I have been diagnosed with a neurological condition that is probably connected to an autoimmune condition that causes me to have a certain level of chronic pain all the time. And I've had this for many years. And there was our first orb. That was a pretty one, huh? I've been going through this for several years, and I have never really chosen to speak about my own personal struggle with physical pain. I have shared with you guys many times my emotional pain, the pain from my childhood, the pain from my marriages, the pain that I have been through, beating up myself, and the cutting and the self-loathing and the hatred. All of that, I felt very comfortable splatting right out on the table to all of you. And yet, when it came to my physical pain, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't share. I'd mention it from time to time, but I really wouldn't go into it. And people that are close to me, that are in this community, were constantly telling me, like, you should be talking about this. You should be sharing your physical struggles. And I felt like because I was struggling with it, that I was not the person to talk about it. And yet, when I say that same thing about the emotions, as soon as I say, I am struggling with this, I know that I have to talk to you guys. I know that I have to do a show on it so that information can come through. And yet, when it comes to my physical being, I resisted that for a very long time. I sat in a space of fear when it came to owning up to and really sitting in my pain, my energy, my issues with my physical vessel, with my form. And I would still continue to work on my emotional stuff, on my connection, on all of this other things, and I would ignore the physical component to my pain, at least to the best of my abilities. Even as I'm walking with a cane and getting spinal taps done and going in for testing and all of this, I ignored it as much as I could possibly ignore it. Now, if we liken this to our emotional progress, if you ignore your emotional pain, does it just go away? Not really. Can you pretend it doesn't exist for a little while? Oh, maybe if you're really good at it. And it's the same way with physical pain. It doesn't go away just because I'm pretending like it's not there. It doesn't go away just because I refuse to actually deal with what's going on. It still stays right there. Do you have something in your life? Hi, Terry. Do you have something in your life that you are trying to ignore, that you are trying to pretend doesn't exist in your world? I know that a lot of the different spirituality style systems and law of attraction talk about not focusing on things that hurt you, not focusing on those things that hurt, right? A lot of these methods tell us look away, pretend like that's not happening, don't own up to what you're actually feeling. And yet we know that emotionally, as soon as we own our feelings, we feel a little bit of relief. It's like when you carry the burden of a secret and then you finally get to tell someone, you always kind of, oh, that was hard to carry that, right? And here we are in this pain and we get the same way. And the longer that we carry it without sharing, without digging into it, without acknowledging it, the more painful it becomes. Shireen says, I'm struggling with a pain that I don't understand and I don't know where this emotional pain is coming from. Let's go right into that. Emotional pain and physical pain are so incredibly closely connected. And yet, when it comes to physical pain, we will push it aside and carry on. And for many people, when it comes to emotional pain, they'll just push it aside and carry on in their regular life. It goes in both directions, especially in the spiritual community, because there are a lot of us who sit around saying that all of our emotions are just an illusion, right? And that all of this 3D world is just an illusion, so nothing that happens here is real, and it's just a vessel, so it doesn't matter what you're feeling. And then if we go to the opposite side that's not in spirituality, then people are saying, just push your pain down and being vulnerable is bad and you have to carry on and just push ahead and just do it for the Nike campaign and ignore all those things. They don't define you, you define you. So ignore all of that, right? From both sides, we're getting this, ignore your pain and pretend like it's not there. Whether on the spiritual side or whether on the non-spiritual side, right? my co-host back there. Hi, Carrie Lynn. So how do we dig into this and figure out where it's coming from? How do we actually address the pain? The first thing that we have to do, just like when we have a physical pain, is identify where it's coming from. And Shireen, this is where you said you were struggling, identifying where it's coming from. What does it feel like? Not just I hurt, but try to be as specific as you can. If you go to a doctor and you just say, I hurt, but you actually twisted your ankle, the doctor's going to look at a lot of other things if you're crying and in pain before they get down to your ankle, if they ever get there, right? They're going to look at everything because you gave a general, I'm in pain. And they need to be a little more specific. So while emotional pain can feel scattered, and we can feel it in every part of our body. Yeah, my cats are funny. And we can feel it in every part of our body. Even though we can feel that emotional pain in every part of our body and it affects us in a physical way, we have to try to dig down and find the thorn. We have to try to dig down and find, if it's a physical pain, the physical source of your pain. And you almost have to be, in your emotional life, a diagnostician, just like a doctor has to be a diagnostician. Maybe like with a child, like a baby, who is just in pain and crying and not really able to articulate where it hurts. It hurts on my left side under my ribs. Babies can't say that. And that's how we feel in the emotional storm that we tend to carry with us. Is a lot of us feel like, well, it just hurts. It hurts everywhere. And I'm not really sure what I'm hurting about. This is where you have to be like Scooby and the gang. And I have said this on my show many, many times. With your own emotions, you have to be like Scooby and the gang and dig down into it. You have to pay attention to all the clues that happen in your life. You have to pay attention to those things that trigger you. Okay, so if you watch something on TV and there's a person who's lying, whether it's a real story or just a movie or whatever, and there's somebody lying, say, and you get so mad, you feel it trigger something, right? Now, our natural instinct is to push that back down, for most of us. Just push that away. But from now on, every time that happens, make a note, pay attention. Make a little note about what it was specifically that made you mad in that moment, even if it was fleeting. And what happens is you start to you piece together a pattern. You're able to piece together these things that make you mad. So let's say one thing is somebody who is, I don't know, lying, right? And then you watch another thing and you see somebody steal. And you get really, really agitated about that. Even though they didn't steal from you and it's just a fictional movie, it kind of sticks in your craw, right? When you start to feel that, if you can dig into it that moment, that's probably the best time to do it. If not, like I said, you make a note, Scooby and the gang, and then you dig into it. And you think to yourself, when was the last time that I felt this angry? When was the last time I felt this emotion, even if you can't put a name on it, even if it's just some weird pain? When was the last time that I felt this? Who made me feel that? I don't think that anybody makes us feel anything, but who made us feel that? What situation was I in the last time I felt this helpless, angry, injustice, whatever it was that emotion? When was the last time that you felt that way? And then you sit and you look at that situation. Okay, so what about this made me so mad? Well, that person stole something from me and then lied about it. All right, so now I can see where these things happen. So how did I feel about that? Well, I was mad at them. Okay, but how did I feel about that? Because anger actually represents pain. Anger comes from a space of disappointment, of someone else not performing up to your expectations, of yourself not performing up to your expectations. It comes from setting these goals or expectations for other people they don't live up to. When you expect other people to behave in a moral way and they don't, we get mad at them because I thought that you were a good guy, or I thought that you were a strong leader, or I thought that you had a heart. And then when it turns out they don't, we get mad. Now, are we mad at them for what they did? Maybe. But we're more mad because we had an expectation of them to behave in a particular way, usually based on how we think we would behave. And so when we can see that, we can go beneath the anger. We can go beneath the pain to actually see what it was about that particular situation that made us upset. So was it about losing someone that you love? Was that pain attached to abandonment? Was it attached to loss? Was it attached to that need for approval that this person can no longer give you? You have all of the answers to these things. Why you are in pain emotionally, why you carry this with you. You are the only one that has those answers. But you have to be really willing and ready to dig in and to really go down that rabbit hole into your own abyss. To dive naked into the pool of trauma and suffering. You have to be ready. But even though you are diving in naked in vulnerability to your pain from your past, now you have tools to face those things. Now you're able to pull yourself into the observer situation. Now you are able to look at this situation and pick it apart from a place where you don't have to relive those emotions, but you can look at them from the outside and say, why did I go so far into that? Why did I think because they left that it was because of me? Why did I immediately take on the burden of their pain? Right? We're able to look at these things from a different angle, from a different situation, from a different vantage point. And as soon as we can do that, we're able to shift the experience of pain when it comes to emotion. Emotional pain is not a physical pinpoint. It's in this spot right here. This is the spot that hurts emotionally, and it hurts right in this spot. It's not like that. Emotional pain has these winding roots that come from that spot that was hurt and grows into a vine that works its way into every part of your life. So an emotional pain from your childhood, just of overhearing someone say, something's not right with that girl. Just overhearing someone say, they'll never get anywhere doing that. Or you're not smart enough to read. Or what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Even something small like that can create a wound that we will carry with us, can create pain that we carry with us as we go through our life. And we will also accept something like that as a fact and then collect evidence that proves that. So here's one. You're at the dinner table. I use Uncle Dave a lot. You're at the dinner table. You're 4 or 5 years old. You want to talk with the adults, right? So you're trying to get your 2 cents in because you like candy and they're talking about candy, and I want everyone to hear me talk about candy. And Uncle Dave turns to you and says, "Shush, little girl. No one wants to hear what you have to say," right? So you and Uncle Dave, he's a little bit scary. Uncle Dave kind of like makes you tremble in your little Mary Janes a little bit, right? And so you kind of like back away from the table and go back to the kids' table, and but it's in your head now. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. But it's you're 4. It's gone. Poof. Now you want to talk to your mom a couple days later. She's on the phone. You're pulling on mommy, trying to get mom's attention, right? And mommy says, "I do not have time to listen to you right now. Can't you see I'm busy?" Right? So now we line that up on top of no one wants to hear what you have to say, little girl. Then you go to school and the teacher tells you to shush. This is not the time for you to talk. Or nobody wants to hear you. Or shut your mouth. And now we add another layer of nobody wants to hear you. Okay? And our lives will continue this way, adding evidence to this incorrect core belief that literally came from one traumatic moment of you getting snapped at by someone who scared you. By Uncle Dave, who was scary when you were 4. It might still be scary. So now you're a grown-up, now you're in a relationship, now you have a job. Every time you speak up at work, people don't pay you any mind. When you speak up at home, nobody pays any attention, right? Nobody's listening to what you have to say. So now you're walking around going, why do I bother talking? Nobody ever listens to what I'm going to say. Or you're speaking at people, and you're speaking at people, not to them, and yelling and raising your voice, so you will be heard. So it can take you in several different directions, but it all comes from this layered bit of evidence that you found when you were little. And we will carry the pain of that around with us, thinking no one in my life listens to me, nobody cares what I have to say, nobody loves me. It always comes back to losing love. Pain is always the result of losing love in some form, whether it's approval, whether it's because somebody's listening to you, whether it's because somebody disappointed you. It always comes back to lack of love or loss of love, because love is all there is, and all other emotions branch from it, either building on love or lacking love. Fear, anger, jealousy, all come from lack of love, all come from losing love or the fear of losing love. And it's a great line from the Doors movie by someone he was involved with. that there's only love or lack of love. So when it comes to physical pain works in much the same way, in that you have to acknowledge it and dig into it and figure out why it's there. Or at the very least, to figure out and accept that it is a real thing in your life, just like pain. Because there are people who are angry who refuse to look at their pain. There are people who yell a lot who refuse to look at their pain. There are people who are depressed who refuse to look at their pain. There are people who are grieving, who know that they are grieving and refuse to look at their own pain. And I can tell you from my point of view why that is, okay? I felt that I had a certain level of functioning, right, in my daily life, whether this is emotional or physical. I had a certain level of functioning that while it was painful, while it was hard to deal with, while I was trying to, just kind of figure out a balance, once I got that balance of maintaining pain and normality, I didn't want to upset it. I was fearful and honestly, I was terrified to upset that level of functionality. Because if I admitted to myself that I hurt more than what I do, that I was numbing myself and lifting myself out of my physical body, if I admitted that to myself in those moments, then I have to recognize that there's a hell of a lot under the surface here that I'm not dealing with. And that the pain is going to get worse before it gets better. But that's exactly the line that we need to address. Is that yes, the pain will get worse before it gets better, emotionally or physically. But when you sink into it with a lifeline, not sinking into the pain, in the pity party, in the poor me, in the sadness, in the embracing of that, but rather sinking into it with your lifeline, right? Maybe in a cage with chainmail suit on and your scuba outfit and your oxygen and your spear. When you go down, prepared to dig into that pain, whether it's physical or emotional, prepared to look at that space in your life, it gives you a very different perspective. And you might see that the thing that you feared, that emotional bit that you didn't want to deal with, that part of you that you wouldn't look at, is not as gargantuan and scary as you think it is. That pain level is actually increased just by your fear of it, whether it's physical or emotional pain. And I'll liken it for you to a person getting a shot, okay? So some people are scared of shots, incredibly scared of shots. Now, we all know that when you physically get a shot, for the most part, yes, it pinches. Yes, it can be a little bit painful. If you're getting medicine put in, then the medicine going in can be painful and stinging. If you're getting blood taken out, you don't really feel much. But it is not the kind of pain that should leave someone screaming on the floor in the hallway, begging for people not to put a needle in them, right? It's just a small thing. And I'm not trying to belittle anyone who's scared of needles. It's just an example. But by being so scared of the needle, you create a level of fear and anxiety that is far beyond what perhaps the person next to you is doing. And it makes that needle, that shot, so much worse, exponentially worse, because you're worried about it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, freaking out about it. You're in there shaking. You can't catch your breath. Maybe you're hyperventilating. You're terrified. Your friend has to hold you down while they do the... Now, is it the actual shot, or is it the fear that you have created in your mind of getting the shot that is the most painful part? This is how our pain is. Because when we're going through it, it's terrifying. So I would guess that a lot of people who are scared of needles had a traumatic experience with a needle when they were little. And whether it was because of the way they were held down, or whether it was because of the way the shot was given, or whatever it is, they are recalling that moment at 2 or 3 years old. Every time as a grown-up, they have to get a shot. And because of the level of pain that in their mind occurred, and this fear that they have wrapped around this whole situation, now every time they go to get a shot, they regress into that behavior of a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or younger. They regress into this place of fear and pain. But it's not because of the actual pain of the shot. It's because of the memory of the fear. It's because of the memory of the aftermath. It's because of the memory that you're carrying with you about the pain. And so even with conditions like mine, the level of fear that I carried about sinking down below into the pain, sitting in my body again, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And yet, it is the only thing that will truly allow me to examine my pain, to pick it apart, to find out, is it the fear of more pain that is keeping me from digging into this further? And without digging into my pain, I only had one mechanism to deal with it, and that was to ignore it. And that didn't make things better. It tends to make things worse, both emotionally and physically. But I have a couple of tips for you to handle both physical pain and emotional pain, because they are extremely similar in the way that you deal with them. Okay? Let me grab a little sip up and a little Shrek cup. And this is my vintage Shrek cup from, I think, McDonald's. Let's see, I think Shrek the Third, right? I have 3 or 4, then this one could probably go for about $15 on eBay, right? I love a good freebie. Okay. So, some tips and tricks to deal with pain, both physical and emotional. So, like I said, it's really about paying attention. So if you are, we'll start with the physical. If you are in a physical space where you live in chronic pain all of the time, and many of us do, whether it's from back pain, whether it's from fibromyalgia, whether it's from whatever it is, Lyme disease, MS, whatever it is that your chronic pain is, adapt what I'm saying to what you're going through, okay? Oh, my lovely co-host again here. So in this space of physical pain, if you are a person who detaches from your body, which is what I did many, 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 many years ago before I was actually diagnosed, just to deal with the physical day in, day out of my very physical job. So you have to have this level of detachment. Now, I did it naturally, but some people aren't able to do that. So I thought that I would tell you actually how to lift above your pain threshold, okay? And this is not something that you want to do for an extended amount of time. I did it for years, and it's created a huge disconnect that I have been working for the past 3 or 4 months on, trying to integrate back with my physical body. So I'm not going to recommend that you do the separation thing all the time, but there are moments, as you know, when pain is too much. And this same exact technique applies in emotional pain as well. There are moments when you are going through emotional pain when you have to function, right? There are moments when you would like to be crying in fetal position on the floor in the bathroom, but you have to be walking out the door with the kids to get them to school and then get yourself to work. And you don't have the luxury of those moments with your own pain, right? So here's one of the things that I have used in physical and emotional pain, okay? You set yourself a baseline. Okay? So you set yourself a level of how you feel. Okay? You kind of take an assessment. It hurts in this spot, this spot, this spot, or it's feeling heavy in this spot. Describe it in your mind. Okay? And then you're going to close your eyes and just visualize yourself stepping onto a step stool. Right? Stepping onto a step stool. Now your body, your physical body, stays on the ground. That divine piece of you steps on a step stool just above where your body is connected to the ground. And just by this lift, it gives you a little bit of distance from the physical pain, from the emotional pain. Gives you that little bit of distance so that you can kind of breathe for a second. Breathe for a few moments, right? Now, I've existed on this step stool for probably close to 20 years. And it has created an extreme divide between my body and my energetic side. However, now that I'm digging back into it, I can do this on a moment-to-moment basis just for some relief. Because it gives me a perspective stepping back into it. So that's the next part of this pain, these tips on pain, is that sometimes we have to step right into it. But be prepared. Choose a time to step into it, when you will be unimpeded, when you will have that time to just sit on the couch or lie in bed or just go through your thoughts, right? Choose a time to step into that pain and honor it. And that may sound like a very strange thing. I don't want to honor that pain. That pain is hurting me. Why would I tell it, I love you? Why would I say to that pain, I honor you? I love you. Thank you for being there for me. But this is what makes the difference in your experience of the pain. Both physical pain and emotional pain are there for your protection. It is a response that our bodies and our minds create to protect us, to show us something that's wrong, to indicate a place in us that needs healing, right? So the emotional pain that we're feeling, that we get so mad about, is a self-defense mechanism that is trying to help us recognize where our pain is so that we can heal it, so that we can love it. But then we get mad at the pain. We get mad at ourselves for giving into it. We get mad for actually digging in and going, oh my gosh, I hurt and this is terrible. We get mad at ourselves for being weak and vulnerable. And we get mad at the pain. And like for me, it's my feet are the thing that I have the most pain on. I would get mad at my feet. I would get mad at myself for giving into this and not pushing through. I would blame and be so upset with my body. And the more that I did that, the more I disconnected from it, which didn't actually heal the pain, although it gave me a semblance of relief. It wasn't actually healing the pain. It wasn't actually digging into what's going on in my body. And we do the same thing with emotional pain. We may be able to force ourselves to go through it and look normal. But on the inside, we're a big old mess. Like the Dorian Gray painting. I don't know if you guys know the story of Dorian Gray. It is a classic that they make you read in literature class here in the States. And it's basically the story of a man who has a painting painted of himself when he's young. And then all of a sudden, he's not aging anymore. Only the painting ages. Only the painting shows the bad things that he's done and the pain that he's caused other people and all of those things. The painting has all of the markings of the evil and the sad and the mad and all of that in this person's life. That's what we look like on the inside. Because we can look as normal as we want on the outside. But you don't know what's really on the inside of someone else. And nobody else knows what's really inside of you. So what does your pain look like on the inside? Have you faced it straight up? When you look at this physical pain, when you look at this emotional pain, you have to love it. You have to honor it. You have to thank it. You have to say, thank you, pain. Thank you so much for pointing to something in my body that needs healing. Thank you so much for pointing to something in my heart that I need to fix, that I need to heal, so that I don't have to carry this pain around with me anymore. And some pain just doesn't ever go away, but it does shift. The shape of the pain will shift so that it's no longer bitter and painful, so that it's no longer gives you that bad taste in your mouth, but rather it shifts to something appreciative and loving and in recognition and in honoring what it did for you, or what that person did for you, or the lesson that you learned from it. We must honor all parts of ourselves, the light and the dark. You must put together both sides, the light and the dark, the sad and the happy, the painful and the pain-free. Because it's a balance, and you have to honor both sides. It's not an easy thing to do. It's definitely not an easy thing to do. But practicing shifting yourself into that observer situation is a huge thing that can really help the process. Practicing stepping into that observer situation, standing on that step stool a little bit above so that you can get through a couple more hours. Recognizing and honoring and loving your pain. Thanking the universe for giving you this opportunity is a huge shift in dealing with pain. And if I could give you that one big piece of advice, anytime that you are struggling, you are in pain, you are asking why, you are crying, you are fetal position on the floor, just start saying thank you. Out loud. Just start saying thank you. And see what happens. See how it shifts your experience. See how it shifts your perception of the pain. Because like I said with the shot, people who are scared of shots think that shots hurt like you're being sliced open with a knife. And yet, they really don't. But we create that level of fear that completely shifts the situation. And if that person is able to start saying thank you, thank you, thank you, the word thank you and the energy of gratitude changes our perception of what's around us. And it cracks the door to that divine essence within you to come out and help you, to come out and embrace this, to give you that support. You constantly have that support with you. And the deeper you go, the stronger your connection to that support. And the more you will be able to access the divine within you and unleash your life. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I am going to be starting a whole bunch of new stuff right here on the channel. I'm going to be interviewing people. I'm going to do rune readings. I'm going to have, I'm going to speak light language. They're telling me do everything. When I say they, I mean the universe, God, the light, my spiritual team, whatever the heck you want to call it. They're telling me come out, be bold, be strong, and just be you. So that's what I'm going to do. So should be very interesting moving forward. Please stay tuned to Unleash Your Light. I have a YouTube channel that I am currently building. Please come over and subscribe. If you're in the first 100 people that subscribe, and I'm up to 45 or 46, you're going to get in on that ground floor. You're going to get some special stuff. Because when I get to 100, I'm going to like reach out to those 100 people and give them something special. So when we get to 100, I'm going to do something big. I'm not sure what it is yet, but it's going to happen. You're probably watching me on my page. If you are not watching me on my page, go right up there and click on the Unleash Your Light and follow me. You can also find me and friend me. I still have lots of room for friends on my regular page. I post all kinds of weird sci-fi stuff. And yeah, I guess that's about it for this morning. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. I have a lot of stuff coming up. So just keep following me, and I guess you're going to see what happens just like I'm going to see what happens. I love every single one of you. I'm super grateful for you to be here. Take a hold of your pain, shift how you're looking at it, and use it for your benefit. Use it for your growth. Use it as clues to see deeper inside of yourself, okay?